Alan Moore and Dave Gibbon's Watchmen is full of symbolism and metaphors. You can see it throughout the artwork and writing, hidden in panels and speech bubbles, it's just everywhere. For this video though, I just wanted to focus on the Gordian Knot, showing you some examples of where to find it and explaining the significance of it. First though, what is the Gordian Knot? Well, it refers to an ancient Greek legend about Alexander the Great, a king of Macedon who forged a great empire through conquest. The most famous version of this legend goes that Alexander the Great was confronted with a problem and an opportunity in Phrygia, a province of Persia. There lay an ox cart tied with a mass of knots. An oracle prophesied that the person who could undo them would be declared king of Asia. Instead of struggling to loosen the knots, Alexander used a sword to cut straight through them, using brute force to solve the problem. He then went on to conquer large parts of Asia, fulfilling the prophecy. So what's this legend from almost 2,500 years ago got to do with Watchmen? And the short answer is a lot. You see, there is a lot of similarities between Ozymandias and Alexander the Great. In Karnak, Veidt's polar lair, there is a giant painting in the background of Alexander the Great cutting the Gordian Knot. This is shown in the story's final act, as Adrian's plan starts to come to fruition. It's here Veidt explains his admiration for Alexander having a vision and striving to achieve it, even at the cost of innocent lives. He even takes a spiritual voyage to follow in Alexander's footsteps, visiting his places of conquest. And if we cast our minds back to chapter 2, we see that Adrian believes that the world's problems as being solvable. They just require a bit of intelligence, and he thinks that he can be the one to save the world. He thinks that Alexander's mission was incomplete, as he failed to unite the whole planet, which in Veidt's world is currently at a nuclear standoff. Veidt wants his sword stroke to build a lasting unity. That worldview is again echoed in chapter 10 in an introduction to the Veidt method course. Through it he claims you can take control by flexing the muscles of the will common to us all, affecting our environment positively. Of course, Adrian isn't doing this in some purely utilitarian act. He intends to profit from this, investing in things like baby food to grow and secure his empire, ensuring that he will be the one on top of the pyramid once it ends. So Veidt is overtly trying to emulate Alexander the Great, acutely aware of the parallel between his own story and the legend of the Gordian Knot. However, he is not the only one with strong links to the knot. Enter Rorschach. Rorschach is confronted by the knots a few times in the series. After breaking into Dan's apartment, Night Owl has new locks installed by none other than the Gordian Lock Company, only for Rorschach to break in again. Rorschach does the same thing to Moloch's door, again a Gordian lock, forcing his way in to confront him. Rorschach admits to being a fan of Truman whilst in a Charlton home for children. Truman had dropped bombs on Japan, forcing their surrender and theoretically saving millions of lives. This was, in essence, a sword through a Gordian knot, using force to solve what seemed unsolvable. Whilst Ozymandias was confronting big problems, Rorschach's were much smaller. Veidt was trying to establish world peace, whilst Rorschach merely wanted to often get to the other side of a door. They are both comic book heroes though, and generally all problems are solved through punching the baddie in the face, a very black and white solution. To them, force shapes the environment to what they want, and in that respect they are very similar, mirroring each other. Where they differ is that Veidt, after a career of fighting crime, recognises that the problems aren't always black and white. Rorschach, however, maintains that worldview, but they both still apply that use of force to solve the problems. And just as an aside, Rorschach creates his own knots as well, not just breaking them. Whilst in prison, he ties another inmate's hands together through the bars, causing Figure to have to use force to get at him. There are plenty of other references to Gordian knots too. In chapter 9, whilst on Mars, Dr. Manhattan invites Laurie to look at the Nodus Gordii Mountains, Latin for Gordian Knot Mountains. There's also a knot in the wire of a reporter's mic as Dr. Manhattan faces problems he doesn't know how to address. Although Gibbon says he just couldn't resist adding a knot here. And then there's Joey. Joey and her girlfriend, a member of the Top Knot youth group, are arguing about their relationship. Joey's girlfriend suggests a book that Joey could read to help understand what went wrong in their relationship. A book that happens to be called Knots. Joey rips the book in half. Their relationship is not saved, and this shows that not everything can be solved with violence. In fact, in what seems like foreshadowing, Joey starts to beat up her girlfriend, and passers-by start to get involved in the conflict. What started as a small act of violence, in this case the ripping of the book, escalates rather than solving any problem. How will the world react to Veidt's actions if Rorschach's journal is published? And this is the big conundrum of the whole series. How much force is acceptable to break a knot in two? In a world beset by the threat of nuclear war, one in which the story was written, these were the moral tests of the time. For many, the stance from Bernie, the newsstand guy, made a lot of sense. We need to kill theirs before they kill ours. But is collateral damage worth peace? And peace for how long? To borrow a line from Hollis Mason's Under the Hood, life is messy, inconsistent, and it's seldom when anything ever really gets resolved.